A very warm welcome to all the listeners. This is your host Madhulika Chauhan, and you are listening to the episodic version of the great epic of Mahabharat. In today's episode, we will see the expanse of the empires and the family tree, how Janmejay came from the same family tree as Arjun, how Krishna was related to the Pandavas. His family tree has been taken from the Mahabharat edition of 1989, designed by Srimati Priyadarshini. The tree describes the lineage of sage Atri and that of Purus and the Yadava race. Although we have tried to cover the hero stories in as linear way we could, there are still many interesting stories in store which might not follow the linear tree, but are interesting nonetheless. One such interesting story is that of Yayati and his wives, Devyani and Sharmishtha. Yayati was a Puranic king, born to King Nahusha and his wife Ashokasundari, the daughter of Shiva and Parvati, and he was one of the ancestors of Pandavas and Yadavas. He had 5 brothers, Yati, Samyati, Ayati, Viyati and Kriti. Yayati had conquered the whole world and was a Chakravarti Samrat. Yayati's elder brother, Yati, was initially given the kingdom, but it turned down and instead became an ascetic. Yayati then became the king in his place and ruled the earth. He appointed his 4 younger brothers to rule the world's cardinal directions. The story goes that one day, Sharmishtha, daughter of the Danava king Vishparva, and Devyani, daughter of Daitya sage Shukracharya, go with Sharmishtha's retinue to bathe in a forest pool not far from their home. After bathing, Sharmishtha confuses Devyani's sari with hers and puts it on instead. Devyani returns, scolds Sharmishtha for her mistake, and belittles her with the jibe that she is a daughter of Shukracharya, and Vishparva and their kingdom lives on his blessings. This slur on herself and her father, Vishparva, infuriated Sharmishtha. With the help of her servants, Sharmishtha throws the naked Devyani into a well and leaves the forest with her retinue. Later, Yayati comes to the well for water and helps Devyani to climb out of it. Devyani requests Yayati to accept her as his wife. Yayati, considering this to be the will of Providence, says he can accept the offer if her father agrees to the union. Shukracharya agrees to the union. Devyani resolves to make Sharmishtha her servant in revenge for trying to kill her by throwing her into the well. Sharmishtha's father, Vishparva, agrees to this, since he fears that the continued security of his kingdom would be in doubt without the sage counsel of Devyani's father, Shukracharya. Sharmishtha also agrees to this to save the kingdom and becomes Devyani's maidservant. When Devyani moves to Yayati's palace after her marriage, Sharmishtha, the maidservant, also goes along. Shukracharya, however, sternly warns Yayati never to mate with Sharmishtha. After a long while, Sharmishtha comes to Yayati and requests him to give her a child. He refuses and says that if he were to do so, he could face the wrath of Shukracharya. Nevertheless, Sharmishtha manages to finally convince him, saying that it would be against dharma if he were to refuse her request. He being the king, and it is his responsibility to ensure the needs of the citizens, and she is desperate to have a child. He reluctantly agrees, and they begin a relationship in the hope that she will conceive. In due course, Devyani gives birth to 2 sons, Yadu and Turvasu, while Sharmishtha begets the 3 sons, Dhuryu, Anu and Puryu. Eventually, Devyani learns that her husband's affair with Sharmishtha and complains to her father. Enraged at his son-in-law's disobedience, Shukracharya curses Yayati with premature old age in punishment for inflicting such pain upon his daughter. However, on learning Sharmishtha's desire to become a mother, he later relents, telling Yayati that if he can persuade one of his sons to swap ages with him, he will be able to escape the curse and regain his lost youth for a while. Yayati asks his son if one of them will give up the youth to rejuvenate his father. But all refuse except the youngest, Puru, one of the sons of Sharmishtha. In grateful recognition of Puru's filial devotion, Yayati makes him his legitimate heir, and this is the line of Puru, later known as King Puru or the Puru Vansha. In the words of the story, Yayati enjoys all the pleasure of the senses for 1,000 years, and by experiencing passion to the full, comes to realize its utter futility, and says to his son, "Know this for certain, not all the food, wealth, and women of the world can appease the lust of a single man of uncontrolled senses. Craving for sense pleasures is not removed but aggravated by indulgence, even as ghee poured into fire increases it. One who aspires to have peace and happiness should instantly renounce craving and seek instead that which neither grows old nor ceases, no matter how old the body may become." Having found wisdom by following the road of excess, Yayati gratefully returns the youth of his son Puru and takes back his old age in return, renouncing the world to spend his remaining days as a forest ascetic. His spiritual practices get blessed with success at last with his accession to Swarga. With this, we come to an end to today's episode on the great epic of Mahabharat. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy and stay healthy always. Narayan Narayan.